Hi, this is James Scott, part of the Cloud Platform Specialist team at Dell EMC. What I want to do today is just very quickly walk you through the deployment of CloudLink, specifically for the use case of using CloudLink as a key management server to enable the latest vSphere and vSAN encryption options. So you're going to want to go ahead and deploy the OVA to start with. As soon as you deploy the OVA and power it on, it's going to allow you to connect to the web interface and complete the initial configuration. So the first step in this is to define the initial SecAdmin login. So I'm going to go ahead and create a password for that account. As soon as you've done this, the product will then walk you through the remaining setup steps. So if you haven't already done so if you didn't have to go into the console and do a setup a static IP, then you'll need at this point to set up the console password. So this is only going to be used if you ever need to access the key management system via the console interface. We can then define a host name. So I'm going to call this CloudLink 1. This is the point where you can deploy additional OVAs to either restore from a secure backup file or to create clusters, to create an HA active-active setup. For now, we're just going to create a new server and import the license file. So once you've imported the license file, confirm the server name or IP address. This is what will be used to connect to CloudLink Center from other instances. So this is what CloudLink is going to be used both from vCenter, ESXi hosts, and from other nodes in a CloudLink Center cluster to connect to this system. So you can leave this as the IP address, or you can define the DNS name here. Obviously that then creates a dependency on the DNS server. So I'm going to leave it as the IP address for now because I don't expect that to change. What we then do is immediately generate and download an encryption key. This will be used to protect the backups if we choose to enable the secure backup feature. And we confirm that we have that file saved locally. You can see it's automatically saved by the browser. We then define the vault mode. So CloudLink Center is going to encrypt everything within this virtual appliance so that it's not in plain text on the disk. I can choose how that information is accessed. I'm going to leave it as auto unlock, but I am going to define one of the passphrases that's used to protect the system. So if anything happens and I need to get access to that vault and it doesn't automatically unlock for any reason, I can use this passcode to get in. I can also define additional passcodes if I need to. But that's it. Once you've done that, the basic setup for CloudLink Center is done. The only thing left to do, specific to the vCenter connection, is to set up a KMIP server and partition. Again, this is really easy. I'm just going to add a KMIP partition. So this is going to be used for VMware keys. Maybe it's being used for both VM and vSAN. I'm going to leave the defaults, and I'm going to confirm this is managed by that built-in SecAdmin role. So that's it. That's going to immediately create a partition. If you have set up an HA cluster, this information is going to be replicated to all nodes. And the only thing left to do in CloudLink Center is to define a KMIP client. This KMIP client is what will be used by vCenter and potentially the ESXi nodes directly, depending on your configuration, to connect into the key management server. So we're going to go ahead and define a username. I'm going to call this client 1. I'm going to stick with the default username and password, and you can see here these credentials that I set will be used to access the partition that I just created. So as soon as I do that, what CloudLink Center is going to do is immediately create a zip file. This is a zip file that contains everything that vCenter will need to connect into CloudLink Center, just to make life, again, really easy. So we can now just move over to vCenter. Within vCenter, we can navigate to the key management server settings and just click Add to add the CloudLink node that I just deployed. So I'm going to create a new cluster. If you were doing additional CloudLink nodes, you can keep the same cluster and just add additional nodes to it. So I'm going to call the cluster CloudLink. I'm going to make this the default cluster. So when I do, for example, VM level encryption, it's the partition that this username and password references that will be used by default to store the encryption keys. So I'm going to give it a name. Again, I'm just going to call this node 1, and I'm going to give it the IP address of the CloudLink Center node that I just deployed. So I'm going to use the default port, which is port 5696, and the username and password that I just defined within CloudLink Center. So when I click Add, vCenter is going to check it can connect to that node. It's also going to validate the certificate details. Now I'm just using the built-in CA that's included in CloudLink Center, but you can obviously change this and trust an external CA. Once I've done that, you'll see it makes the connection successfully, but it doesn't have the certificate details to trust that CloudLink Center node. So I want to make a trust, and to do this I'm going to upload the certificate and private key. Now I've already extracted that zip file, but we literally just need the certificate from that zip and the private key, the key.pem. So when I do that and I establish a trust, it'll validate that that's all correct, and that's it. We now have the KMS defined and set up within vCenter, and CloudLink Center can now be used to store encryption keys and issue them on request. Thank you.